I walked into Lee Chung-za's presidential office, pregnancy test report in hand. Without even looking up, he tossed a divorce agreement at me, saying that Chu Yutong was back and we were even. I didn't cry. I picked up the pen, signed my name on the dotted line, and casually pressed the record button on my phone. At 8:30 in the morning, I walked out of the City First People's Hospital with my pregnancy test report. The sunlight fell on the paper, making the words early pregnancy, 5 weeks stand out clearly. I had been married to Lee Chung-za for 3 years. During that time, I gave up the chance to study abroad, staying at Deep Blue Energy to help him build his empire. From a tiny 3-person startup, we grew into an industry leader valued at 10 billion, thanks to every ounce of my talent and effort. Everyone said I was the most successful woman behind Lee Chung-za, but only I knew how cold this marriage truly was. Lee Chung-za had never said he loved me, barely even offered a caring word. He was always busy. Meetings, social engagements, flirting with countless women. Still, I kept lying to myself. He was just focused on his career, and once the company stabilized, he would see my worth. Now I was pregnant. I thought this baby might change things between us. I drove to the Deep Blue Energy headquarters and walked straight into Lee Chung-za's presidential office. He was sitting at his desk reviewing documents. When he saw me come in, he didn't even lift his head. His voice was cold. "What is it?" I stepped up to him, placed the pregnancy report on the desk and said softly, "Chung-za, I'm pregnant." I expected a hint of surprise, or at least some reaction, but he just looked up, glanced at the report and tossed it aside. His face showed no emotion, just a flicker of impatience. "Get an abortion," he said flatly. My heart sank. I stared at him in disbelief. "What did you say?" I said, "Get rid of the child." Lee Chung-za repeated, his tone unshaken. "I don't have time to take care of a kid right now, and I don't want one, Lee Chung-za, this is your child," I said, my voice trembling. "My child." Lee Chung-za sneered. "Su Qingyu, don't forget our marriage was always a transaction. I married you because you could help me with the technology. Now that the Blue Whale 1 project is nearly finished, you're no longer useful." As he spoke, he pulled a divorce agreement from his drawer and tossed it in front of me. "Perfect timing. Chu Yutong is coming back to China today. Let's get a divorce." Chu Yutong, this name pierces my heart like a needle. She is Lee Chung-za's college first love, the pure, untouchable moonlight in his heart. 3 years ago, she dumped Lee Chung-za to go abroad. Heartbroken, he married me, who had always secretly loved him. I always believed that 3 years of companionship could replace that moonlight in his heart. Now I realize I was never anything but a substitute. Divorce is fine. I tried to calm myself. How do we split the assets? And the Blue Whale 1 project was led entirely by me. I want ownership of it. Assets? Lee Chung-za sneered. "Su Qingyu, don't forget you eat my food, wear my clothes, use my things, everything you have was given by me, and you want assets, leave with nothing. As for Blue Whale 1, that's Shenlan's project, it has nothing to do with you. Lee Chung-za, you're going too far." I trembled with rage. 90% of Shenlan's success is mine. Without my technology you'd be nothing. "Is that so?" Lee Chung-za said disdainfully. "Without the funding and platform I provided, your technology would be worthless. Su Qingyu, don't flatter yourself. Just sign the papers and don't make me late for picking Yutong up at the airport." Just then the office door opened. A woman in a white dress walked in, long hair draped over her shoulders, looking pure and delicate. It was Chu Yutong. She went to Lee Chung-za, took his arm, and said sweetly, "Chung-za, I'm here. This is Sister Su, right? Sister Su, I'm sorry, but Chung-za and I are truly in love. Please just let us be together." Watching her pretend like that made me feel utterly disgusted. I picked up the pen, didn't look at them again, and signed my name on the divorce agreement. "Lee Chung-za, Chu Yutong, you'll regret this," I said calmly. Then I took out my phone and pressed the send button on an email I had prepared long ago. The email read, "Freeze all core technology authorizations for the Blue Whale 1 project. Delete all shared files." After that, I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. At the door, I heard Chu Yutong say sweetly, "Chung-za, look at her. She seems really angry." Lee Chung-za said dismissively, "Don't worry about her. A divorced woman like her can't cause any waves. Let's go celebrate." I didn't look back and walked out of the president's office with firm steps. After leaving Shenlan Energy Building, I took out my phone and called the obstetrics and gynecology department of the First People's Hospital. "Hello, I'd like to schedule an abortion for tomorrow." After hanging up, I looked up at the sky. The sun was blinding, but I felt completely cold inside. 3 Years of marriage, 5 years of secret love, and the child who never got to enter this world. It was all over. Lee Chungza, Chu Yutong, what you owe me, I will take back little by little. The next morning, I arrived at the hospital on time and had the abortion. The procedure went smoothly, but it was very painful. Yet the physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. Lying on the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, I finally couldn't hold back my tears. I'm sorry, little one, it's not that mommy doesn't want you, but mommy can't let you be born into a loveless family, can't let you have a father like that. Come back when mommy has settled everything, when mommy finds someone who truly loves her. Okay, I was discharged from the hospital after staying just 1 day. On the day I left, no one came to see me. Lee Chungza didn't even make a single phone call. Good, that way I could finally give up completely. I returned to the marital home Lee Chungza and I shared to pack my things. I had personally designed and decorated this house, every corner filled with my hopes for the future. Now it had become the last place I wanted to be. I packed a suitcase with everything that belonged to me, then I placed the house key on the cabinet in the entryway and left. I had nowhere to go, so I temporarily stayed at a hotel. The next day, I went to Deep Blue Energy to clear out my things from the technology department. As I walked in, all my colleagues stopped working and looked at me. Their eyes were full of sympathy and concern. I smiled and nodded at them, then walked straight toward my office. But when I reached the door, I found it already open. Chu Yutong was sitting in my office chair, flipping through my design drafts. Beside her stood Wang Peng, fawningly handing her a cup of coffee. When she saw me come in, Chu Yutong looked up with a smug smile. Oh, Sister Sue is here. I thought you wouldn't show up. I ignored her, walked to the desk and began packing my things. Hey, what are you doing? Chu Yutong immediately stood up and blocked me. This is my office now. Take your things away quickly, don't take up space. Your office, I sneered. Chu Yutong, get this straight, this is the office of the director of the Deep Blue Energy Technology R&D Center. What right do you have to sit here? By virtue of being Chungza's fiancé and the new head of the Blue Whale 1 project. Chu Yutong said proudly, chin raised. Chungza said that starting today you don't need to come to work anymore, your position is mine now. Just then Lee Chungza walked in. He was dressed in a black suit, his face as cold as ever. Chu Yutong is right, Lee Chungza said, looking at me with an icy tone. As of today you're fired. Yutong is now fully in charge of the Blue Whale 1 project. Hand over all the technical documents. Technical documents? I looked at him, finding it utterly ridiculous. Lee Chungza, have you forgotten? All the core technology is in my head. What I gave you were just the superficial parts. Without me, Blue Whale 1 will never succeed. Without you, the world will still turn. Lee Chungza said dismissively. Yutong graduated from a prestigious foreign university and is far more capable than you. With her in charge, Blue Whale 1 will surely be better than anything you could have done. Prestigious foreign university. I laughed. Chu Yutong, is that California Institute of the Arts? You graduated from the same diploma mill where anyone can get in as long as they pay. You majored in oil painting. What does that have to do with marine engineering? Chu Yutong's face instantly darkened. You're lying. I graduated from a real university. Oh really? I took out my phone and opened a web page. Should I show everyone the school's official website? It clearly states that no college entrance exam scores are required, just pay $150,000 in tuition and you're in. And you studied oil painting, you don't even know basic physics formulas. How can you be the head of the project? Around us, colleagues began snickering. Chu Yutong's face flushed crimson. Furious, she grabbed a stack of design drafts from the desk and hurled them to the ground. Su Qingyu, don't go too far, I wouldn't want these garbage designs anyway. Watching the drafts scattered on the floor, my gaze turned cold. I had stayed up countless nights drawing these, every single sheet bore my hard work, and now she was throwing them on the ground like trash. I crouched down and picked them up one by one. Chu Yutong, you remember this? I looked up, stared at her, and said coldly, you're not worthy of touching these design drafts. Then I picked up the drafts, placed them in my suitcase, and continued packing my things. Su Qingyu, what kind of attitude is that? Chu Yutong shrieked. Brother Chungza, look at her, how dare she treat me like this? Lee Chungza's face darkened even further. Su Qingyu, I'm warning you one last time. Hand over all the technical documents, otherwise I'll sue you in court and make you compensate the company for all its losses. You can try, I said, looking him dead in the eye, enunciating every word. Without my authorization, if you dare use any of my technology, I'll sue you for infringement. Then you'll be the ones paying damages, not me. With that, I pulled my suitcase to the center of the tech department and said to all my colleagues, "Everyone, I, Su Qingyu, hereby formally resign from Shenlan Energy. If anyone wants to come with me, I'll be waiting for you at Hanhai Engineering Technology Company. I promise you, over there your efforts will be duly rewarded." Then I pulled my suitcase toward the department door. "Su Qingyu, how dare you poach my people?" Li Chengze roared. I didn't look back. Just as I reached the door, I heard footsteps behind me. "Director Su, I'll go with you." "Me too, count me in." I turned around and saw that all 17 of the department's core engineers had packed their things and were following me. I had trained every one of them and they had worked under me for years. They knew that without me, Shenlan's tech department was nothing. Li Chengze stared at the empty tech department, trembling with rage. "All of you, come back right now. Anyone who dares leave, I'll blacklist you. I'll make sure you can't survive in this industry." But no one looked back. Our group marched out of Shenlan Energy's headquarters in a mighty procession. The sunlight fell warm upon us. Looking at these colleagues who trusted me, my heart swelled with emotion. "Thank you everyone," I said, taking a deep breath. "From today onward, we are our own bosses. I promise you, within a year Hanhai Engineering will surpass Shenlan Energy and become the industry leader." "Bravo!" my colleagues cheered in unison. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Wang Peng. "Su Qingyu, don't get too cocky. Brother Chengze said he'll issue an industry blacklist, so no company will dare work with you within 3 days. You'll come crawling back begging him." I glanced at the message, sneered, and put the phone back in my pocket. "Li Chengze, you're so naive. Do you think blacklisting me will make me yield? You're wrong. Leaving you will only make my life better." I led the team to the office I had rented in advance. Located in the high-tech district startup park, it was over 500 square meters, not huge, but more than enough for the dozen or so of us. After a quick tidy-up, we got straight to work. Hanhai Engineering Technology Company was something I had registered a year ago. Back then, I had a nagging feeling that Li Chengze couldn't be relied on, so I kept a backup plan. Little did I imagine that today it would actually come in handy. A newly established company comes with a mountain of tasks. Amid handling various formalities, we also contacted clients and sought orders. In the midst of our frenzy, Li Chengze's blacklist arrived. He sent letters to every company in the industry, claiming I had stolen core technology from Shenlan Energy and had integrity issues, demanding that no company collaborate with me, otherwise they would be making an enemy of Shenlan Energy. Suddenly many companies that had shown interest in working with us backed off. "President Su, what should we do?" my assistant Xiao Lin said anxiously. "3 companies just called to cancel theater cooperate with us." "That's right, President Su," another colleague said. "Li Chengze has too much influence in the industry. Many companies don't dare to cross him." I looked at everyone and said calmly, "Don't worry, Li Chengze's blacklisting can only scare small businesses. Truly strong major companies won't listen to him. Besides, we have core technology, so we won't lack orders." That said, I was also feeling a bit anxious inside. The company had just been established and funds were limited. Without any orders, we would soon be unable to keep going. Just then the front desk called to say a Mr. Jiang was looking for me. I was taken aback. "Mr. Jiang, could it be Jiang Yuchuan?" Jiang Yuchuan is my senior from university and a top domestic marine engineering expert. He is now the deputy chief engineer of CSIC. We had a good relationship back in school, and he always appreciated my talent. 3 years ago when I got married, he attended my wedding. He told me then that if Li Chengze ever dared to bully me, I should let him know and he would help me. I never thought he would actually come. I immediately said, "Please invite him in." Before long, Jiang Yuchuan walked into my office. He was dressed in blue work clothes and wearing a pair of glasses, looking refined and composed. Seeing me, he smiled and extended his hand. "Qingyu, long time no see." "Senior, long time no see." I shook his hand, feeling a warmth in my heart. "What brings you here?" "I heard you resigned from Shenlan and started your own company," Jiang Yuchuan said. "I came to see if there's anything you need help with." "Thank you, Senior," I said, deeply moved. "I'm fine, it's just that I've just set up the company and there's a lot to deal with." "I know," said Jiang Yuchuan. "I've also heard about Li Chengze's blacklist order, but don't worry, CSIC isn't afraid of him. The reason I came this time is to discuss a collaboration with you." My heart stirred. "What kind of collaboration?" "CSIC has a batch of old drilling platforms that need power system upgrades," Jiang Yuchuan said. "The total investment for this project is 300 million. I want to give it to you. I was stunned. 300 million, brother, that's no small sum. Are you really willing to let me take this on? Of course, Jiang Yuchuan said with a smile. I trust your skills across the entire country. You're the only one who can do this project well. Besides, I trust your character. I don't believe a single word of what Li Chengze said about you. Thank you, brother. I truly can't thank you enough, I said excitedly. With this order, our company is saved. Don't thank me, Jiang Yuchuan said. I'm doing this for the project's sake. By the way, to ensure you have enough funds to start the project, I've already instructed the finance department to pay you the full amount. The full amount, I said in disbelief. Senior, isn't this too rushed? We could just take a deposit first. It's fine. Jiang Yuchuan said. I trust you. Besides, I know Li Chengze has frozen all your assets. You must be in need of funds right now. Looking into Jiang Yuchuan's sincere eyes, I felt deeply moved. At my most difficult moment, Li Chengze kicked me when I was down. Yet Jiang Yuchuan didn't hesitate to lend me a helping hand. How could the gap between people be so vast? Senior, I really don't know how to thank you, I said. You don't need to thank me. Jiang Yuchuan looked at me with gentle eyes. Qingyu, to tell you the truth, I've been waiting for this day for 3 years. 3 years ago when I watched you marry Li Chengze, I was heartbroken, but I still wished you happiness, hoping you would have a good life. Now you've finally left him. I hope that I will have the chance to take care of you. My heart skipped a beat, and I looked up at Jiang Yuchuan. His eyes were sincere, without even a hint of jest. I was dazed for a long time, then lowered my head and said softly, Senior fellow apprentice, I'm not in the right state of mind to think about matters of the heart right now. I've just come out of a failed marriage and lost my child. I need time to adjust. I understand, Jiang Yuchuan said. I can wait for as long as it takes. Just give me a chance. Just then my phone rang. It was Li Chengze. I looked at the name on the screen, and my eyes turned cold. I answered the call, my voice icy. Is something wrong? Su Qingyu, have you lost your mind? Li Chengze roared. How dare you take on the CSSC project? I've already issued a blacklist order. Believe me, I can make CSSC back out of working with you too. Li Chengze, you think too highly of yourself. I sneered. CSSC is a state-owned enterprise, not something you can manipulate. Besides, Senior Jiang has already paid me in full. If you're so capable, go ahead and make CSSC break the contract. You, Li Chengze was so furious he couldn't speak. Su Qingyu, just you wait, I'll make your life miserable. With that he hung up the phone harshly. I put down my phone, looked at Jiang Yuchuan and said apologetically, Sorry Senior for making a fool of myself in front of you. No problem, Jiang Yuchuan said with a smile. Li Chengze is narrow-minded and will never amount to much. Don't pay him any attention, just focus on doing a good job with the project. If you run into any difficulties, come to me anytime. Alright, I nodded. Jiang Yuchuan chatted with me a bit more about the project details before leaving. After seeing him off, I looked around at my busy colleagues in the office, my heart filled with hope. Li Chengze, do you think your blacklist order can bring me down? You're wrong. The more you try to crush me, the stronger I will become. One day, I will make you realize that losing me is the biggest mistake of your life. Half a month later, the Shanghai International Offshore Engineering and Equipment Exhibition opened as scheduled. This is the highest profile event in China's offshore engineering industry, attracting companies and experts from around the world. Every year, Li Chengze had long regarded this exhibition as a stage to showcase Deep Blue Energy's strength. He spent a large sum to rent the largest booth and secured a keynote speech slot. He planned to officially launch the Blue Whale No. 1 drilling platform at the exhibition to build brand recognition. I also attended the exhibition with my team. Although our booth was modest, we showcased the latest dynamic positioning system model for drilling platforms, which attracted a lot of attention. On the day of the exhibition, the venue was packed with people. Li Chengze and Chu Yutong, dressed in matching outfits, walked hand in hand through the crowd, drawing the attention of many media outlets. Chu Yutong frequently glanced toward our booth, her eyes full of provocation. I ignored her and continued talking with clients who came to inquire. At 2:00 p.m. it was time for Deep Blue Energy's keynote speech. Li Chengze led Chu Yutong onto the main stage. Warm applause erupted from the audience. Li Chengze picked up the microphone and spoke with great enthusiasm. Distinguished leaders, esteemed experts, hello everyone. I am Li Chengze, president of Deep Blue Energy Group. Today, I am honored to stand here and introduce our company's latest independently developed product, the Blue Whale No. 1 deepwater semi-submersible drilling platform. As he spoke, he presented a slideshow showing the platform's design and performance specifications. The Blue Whale No. 1 is currently the most advanced deepwater semi-submersible drilling platform in China, with a maximum operating water depth of 3,000 meters and a maximum drilling depth of 12,000 meters. Its core dynamic system, independently developed by our technical team, has achieved world-leading performance, Lee Chungza said proudly. Here, I want to give special thanks to our project lead Ms. Chu Yutong. It is thanks to her leadership in overcoming one technical challenge after another that we have the Blue Whale No. 1 today. Chu Yutong took the microphone and said in a coquettish tone, "Thank you, Chungza, for your trust, and thank you all for your support. I will continue to work hard and lead the team to develop even more and better products." The audience applauded again. Many misinformed media outlets took photos of Chu Yutong, praising her as the most beautiful female engineer. Chu Yutong became even more smug. She glanced in my direction, a hint of mockery curling at the corner of her lips. Next came the Q&A session. Hands immediately went up in the audience. The first question came from an expert from Norway. "Hello Ms. Chu, I'd like to know what type of thrusters the Blue Whale 1's propulsion system uses, and how does it solve the dynamic positioning problem during deepwater operations?" Chu Yutong's expression instantly changed. What did she know about thrusters or dynamic positioning? She stammered, This is our team's core technology and it's not something I can disclose." The audience erupted in murmurs. For such a basic question, she couldn't even answer it, yet she called it core technology. The second question came from a domestic professor. "Ms. Chu, then may I ask what the displacement and variable load of Blue Whale 1 are?" Chu Yutong grew even more flustered. This I'm not too sure about either. The engineers below are in charge of that." The murmuring in the audience grew louder. She doesn't know anything, yet she dares to be the project lead. This is too absurd, isn't it? I think Shenlan Energy is just trying to fool people. Lee Chungza's expression turned very grim. He didn't expect Chu Yutong to be so spineless. The host quickly tried to smooth things over. "Everyone, please settle down. Designer Chu might be too nervous. Let's give her another chance. Are there any other questions?" Just then I raised my hand. Everyone looked at me. Seeing my raised hand, Chu Yutong's face turned even paler. "Ms. Su Qingyu, do you have a question?" the host asked. I stood up, looked at Chu Yutong on the stage and calmly said, "Designer Chu, I have 19 questions for you. First, how many generators does the Blue Whale No.1's power system use? And what is the individual power rating? Second, what is the redundancy of the dynamic positioning system? Third, what is the maximum lifting capacity of the drilling system?" I fired off 19 questions in one breath, all core technical questions about the Blue Whale No.1. Only someone who had truly participated in the design of the project could answer them. Chu Yutong stood on the stage, trembling all over, unable to utter a single word. Cold sweat beaded her forehead and she nearly dropped the microphone from her hand. "Designer Chu, why aren't you answering?" I looked at her, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my lips. "These are all basic questions. As the lead of the project, you couldn't possibly not know the answers, right?" Chu Yutong grew so anxious she was on the verge of tears. "You can't answer them, can you?" I said. "Because you weren't the one who designed this project. The PowerPoint you're holding is the first draft I wrote 3 years ago. You can't even understand the content, let alone have designed it." The entire audience erupted. "What, so it was designer Su who designed it? That explains why she didn't know anything. So she stole someone else's work." Lee Chungza suddenly stood up and roared, "Su Qingyu, stop talking nonsense here. Blue Whale 1 is Deep Blue's project, designed by Yutong and her team." "Oh really?" I looked at Lee Chungza. "Mr. Lee, since you claim the project was designed by Chu Yutong, then let her answer my questions. If she can answer even one, I will apologize to her on the spot and withdraw from the marine engineering industry forever." Lee Chungza looked at Chu Yutong. She lowered her head, not daring to meet his eyes. Lee Chungza's face turned ashen, and he was speechless. Just then, Academician Zhong Jingyao stood up. Academician Zhong is a member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering and a leading authority in the domestic marine engineering field. He is also my PhD advisor. Let me say a few words, Academician Zhong said. Though his voice was not loud, it instantly silenced the entire room. The core power system technology of Blue Whale 1 was researched by Su Qingyu under my guidance starting in 2018. In 2020, She completed the preliminary design and published a related paper. I can prove that the inventor of this technology is Su Qingyu, not Chu Yutong. The entire room fell into dead silence. Chu Yutong could no longer hold back. She burst into tears and ran off the stage. Li Cheng's face turned red and pale by turns, wishing he could find a hole to crawl into. Academician Zhong looked at Li Chengze and said sternly, "Mr. Li, running a company is like conducting research. Integrity is essential. Stealing the fruits of others' labor is the most despicable act in our industry. I announce that from today onward the China Marine Engineering Association revokes Deep Blue Energy's membership. I will also terminate all cooperation with Deep Blue Energy." With that, Academician Zhong walked over to me, patted my shoulder and said, "Qingyu, well done, your teacher will always support you." I looked at Academician Zhong, my eyes welling up with tears. "Thank you, teacher." After the meeting ended, all the corporate representatives who had attended gathered around to greet me. They all expressed their support for me and condemned the actions of Li Chengze and Chu Yutong. Many companies exchanged business cards with me on the spot and expressed their intent to cooperate. Li Chengze and Chu Yutong left the venue in disgrace. As I walked out of the venue, Jiang Yuchuan was waiting for me at the entrance. He handed me a cup of hot coffee and said with a smile, "You did great." I took the coffee, took a sip and felt a warmth in my heart. "Thank you, senior," I said, "and thank the professor as well. If it weren't for you two, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly for me today." "No need to thank us," Jiang Yuchuan said. "You have the ability yourself. Li Chengze and Chu Yutong are just clowns." I looked at the pitiful retreating figures of Li Chengze and Chu Yutong in the distance, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my lips. This is only the beginning. Little by little, I will take back everything that belongs to me. After returning from Shanghai, Shenlan Energy's reputation took a nosedive. People in the industry realized that Chu Yutong was an imposter and that Li Chengze had stolen others' designs. Many partners began to waver and called one after another to inquire about the status of their projects. Li Chengze was overwhelmed, trying to appease partners while scrambling to salvage his reputation. But the harder he struggled, the worse things got. With no way out, Li Chengze convened an emergency board meeting. As the third largest shareholder of Shenlan Energy, holding 20% of the company's shares, I also received the board notice. On the day of the board meeting, I arrived at Deep Blue Energy headquarters on time. As I walked into the conference room, all the directors looked at me. Their eyes were complicated, sympathy, guilt, and a trace of expectation. Li Chengze sat at the head of the table, his expression gloomy. Chu Yutong was also there, sitting beside him with red, swollen eyes, looking very aggrieved. Once the board meeting began, Li Chengze spoke first. He placed all the blame on me, claiming that I had deliberately disrupted the exhibition to harm the company's reputation. He also said that I had stolen the company's core technology, started my own firm and was working against the company. "Dear directors," Li Chengze said, "Su Qingyu's actions have already caused huge losses to the company. I propose that Su Qingyu be stripped of her shareholder status and that all her shares be forfeited. Furthermore, we should file a lawsuit against her, demanding compensation of 1 billion yuan for the company's economic losses." The directors exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke. I let out a cold laugh and said, "Chairman Li, you're really good at turning things around. It was you who stole my design results and had Chu Yutong pose as the inventor, causing the company's reputation to suffer, and now you're blaming me instead. You're lying," Li Chengze roared. "The technology belongs to the company, not to you. All inventions and creations you made while working for the company belong to the company. Is that so?" I looked at him. "Chairman Li, have you actually read the employment contract we signed? The contract clearly stipulates that the patent application rights and patent ownership of my personal research results belong to me personally. The company can only use them with my written authorization." Li Chengze's expression shifted slightly. He clearly did not remember such a clause. "Even if it's in the contract," Li Chengze argued irrationally, "you still completed the R&D using the company's funds and equipment. Therefore, the patent rights should belong to the company." "Mr. Li, are you legally illiterate?" I sneered. "The patent law clearly stipulates that for inventions and creations completed using the technical conditions and resources of the entity, if the entity and the inventor or designer have a contract specifying the rights to apply for a patent and the ownership of the patent rights, such provisions shall prevail." Our contract explicitly states that the patent rights belong to me personally, so these patents are mine." An elderly director nodded and said, "What Ms. Su says makes sense. When the contract was signed I was present as well. This clause does exist." The other directors nodded in agreement. Lee Chung's expression turned even uglier. Another director said, "Mr. Lee, now is not the time to assign blame. The top priority is to resolve the issues with the Blue Whale 1 project. Many partners are pressing us. If the project cannot be completed on time, we will have to pay massive penalties for breach of contract. I think we should invite General Manager Su back and let her continue leading the project." "Yes, Mr. Lee, only General Manager Su can complete this project. For the company's sake, just swallow your pride." The directors urged Lee Chung's one after another. Lee Chung's face fluctuated between pale and livid. He looked at me and said through gritted teeth, "Su Qingyu, come back and continue taking charge of the Blue Whale 1 project. I can give you a raise and more shares." I looked at him and found it utterly ridiculous. "Lee Chungza, do you really think I would come back? Have you forgotten how you treated me? You threw the divorce papers at me, took away my project and even tried to blacklist me. Now that you're in trouble, you want me to come back and help you. There's no such free lunch in the world. Su Qingyu, don't reject a favor." Lee Chungza roared, "Without Shunlan you're nothing. Let me tell you, if you don't come back I'll convene a shareholders meeting and revoke your shareholder status." "You can try," I said. "According to corporate law, revoking shareholder status requires the approval of shareholders representing 2/3 or more of voting rights. I hold 20% of the shares plus the directors who support me. You won't reach 2/3. Lee Chungza trembled with rage. Just then, Chu Yutong suddenly stood up, took Lee Chung's arm and said in a coquettish tone, "Brother Chungza, don't beg her. Isn't it just a project? I can do it well. Besides, we're about to get married. Transfer some of your shares to me and together we'll have over 50% of the shares, then we can remove her." I looked at Chu Yutong and found it utterly absurd. Did she really think Lee Chungza would transfer his shares to her? Sure enough, Lee Chungza frowned and shook off her hand. "Don't be ridiculous." Chu Yutong was stunned. "Brother Chungza, what are you saying? Didn't you say you would give me half of the company?" "When did I ever say that?" Lee Chungza said impatiently. "Don't make things more complicated here." Chu Yutong's expression changed instantly. "Lee Chungza, you lied to me. You said you loved me, that you would marry me, that you would give me the company, so it was all lies. So what if I lied?" Lee Chungza sneered. "Did you really think I loved you? I was with you just to spite Su Qingyu. Now that she's gone, you're of no use to me." Chu Yutong looked at Lee Chungza in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. "Lee Chungza, you bastard, I won't let you get away with this." With that, she ran out of the meeting room crying. I watched this scene, feeling no stir in my heart. So much for their so-called true love. It was nothing but mutual exploitation. I took out my phone and called my lawyer, Attorney Chen. "Send the legal letter to Shunlan Energy." After hanging up, I looked at Lee Chungza and said each word deliberately. "Lee Chungza, I have instructed my lawyer to file a lawsuit with the court, demanding that Shunlan Energy immediately cease using all my patented technologies and pay me 500 million yuan in economic damages. Within 3 days, if you do not stop the infringement, the court will seize all your drilling platforms." Lee Chung's face turned as pale as paper. "Su Qingyu, you wouldn't dare. You can try whether I dare or not." I stood up. "Dear directors, I have said all I need to say. Take care of yourselves." Then I turned and walked out of the meeting room. When I reached the company's lobby, Wang Peng ran after me. "General Su, wait a moment," Wang Peng said. I stopped and looked at him. "Is there something?" "General Su, I'm sorry." Wang Peng lowered his head and said, "I was wrong before. I shouldn't have helped Lee Chungza suppress you. I had no choice." "I know," I said. "You were just trying to get by." "Mr. Su, can you give me a chance?" Wang Peng looked up at me. "I want to work for you. I know many of Lee Chung's secrets and I can help you." I looked at him, thought for a moment and said, "All right, come to work at Hanhai Engineering tomorrow." "Thank you, Mr. Su, thank you," Wang Peng said excitedly. I nodded and turned to leave. Sitting in the car, I gazed coldly at the deep blue energy building outside the window. "Lee Chungza, do you think the patents are in your hands? You're wrong. All the core patents are with me. This thunderbolt has been planted for 3 years. Now it's time to set it off." A week later, the tender meeting for CNOOC's deepwater drilling platform project was held in Beijing. This is the largest offshore engineering project in the country this year, with a total investment of 5 billion yuan. Whoever wins this project will become the absolute leader in the industry. Lee Chungza was determined to win this project. He believed that as the largest offshore oil and gas development company in the country, Deep Blue Energy was the natural choice. I also brought my team to attend the tender meeting. On the day of the tender meeting, the hall was packed with corporate representatives from across the country. Lee Chungza sat in the front row. When he saw me come in, he sneered, his eyes full of disdain. He thought that, as a newly established company, I had no strength to compete with him. When the tender meeting began, companies took turns presenting their proposals. Finally, it was Deep Blue Energy's turn. Lee Chungza walked onto the stage and began introducing their plan. His proposal was still based on my previous design, with no innovation whatsoever. Moreover, the quoted price was as high as 2 billion yuan. After his presentation, there was no reaction from the audience. The judges all frowned. Next, it was my turn to go on stage. Dressed in a professional black suit, I walked up to the podium with confidence. Good morning, esteemed judges and leaders. I am Su Qingyu from Hanhai Engineering Technology Company. Today, I am presenting to you our company's new next-generation deep-water semi-submersible drilling platform design. I opened my PPT and began introducing our solution. Building on my original design, our plan has been comprehensively upgraded. The power system efficiency has increased by 30%, construction costs have been reduced by 20%, and it is more environmentally friendly and safer. I also showed the simulated experimental data we had completed, proving that our solution is entirely feasible. The judges listened attentively, nodding from time to time. After the presentation, it was time for the Q&A session. One judge asked, Ms. Su, your proposal is 800 million yuan lower than Shunlan's, and with better performance, how do you ensure the quality and timeline of the project? I smiled and replied, first, our core technology is so we don't need to pay high patent fees, which keeps costs lower. Second, our team consists of top domestic marine engineering experts with extensive project experience. I can assure everyone that we will complete the project on time, with the required quality and quantity. If we are overdue, we are willing to compensate for all losses. Another judge asked, Ms. Su, we all know that you were previously the technical director at Shunlan Energy. Now that you have started your own company and become a competitor to Shunlan, how do you ensure there will be no intellectual property disputes? That's a very good question, I said. All the technologies we use are my personal patents, which have been authorized by the National Intellectual Property Administration. Moreover, I have terminated all licensing agreements with Shunlan Energy. Therefore, there will be no IP disputes. On the contrary, if Shunlan Energy continues to use my technology, they will face infringement lawsuits. After saying this, I took out the patent certificates and showed them to everyone. The judges nodded, displaying satisfied smiles. The bidding meeting entered its final stage. As the judges began scoring, everyone held their breath, waiting for the results. Finally, the director of the bidding office took the stage and announced the winning bid. Now, I announce that the winning company for the CNOOC Deepwater Drilling Platform project is Hanhai Engineering Technology Company. As soon as the words fell, thunderous applause broke out from the audience. My team members cheered excitedly. Jiang Yuchuan sat in the audience and gave me a thumbs up. Lee Chungza's face turned deathly pale. He suddenly stood up and roared, I object. This result is unfair. Your company was just established and doesn't have the capability to complete such a large project. The bidding office director looked at him and said sternly, Mr. Lee, the bidding process was completely open, fair, and just. Hanhai Engineering's proposal outperformed all other companies in terms of technology, pricing and schedule. Their win is well deserved. If you have any objections, you can file a complaint with the relevant authorities. Lee Chungza was speechless and could only glare at me furiously. Just then, several corporate representatives stood up. Mr. Lee, we're sorry, we cannot cooperate with a company that engages in infringement. I announce the termination of all cooperation with Shunlan Energy. Our company is also terminating cooperation. Count us in as well. In an instant, 5 partners announced on the spot that they were cancelling their contracts with Shunlan Energy. The media exploded with excitement, raising their cameras to capture the scene. Watching this unfold, Lee Chungza saw darkness before his eyes and nearly fainted to the ground. I walked up to him and said calmly, Lee Chungza, I told you before, without me you are nothing. Do you believe me now? Lee Chungza raised his head and looked at me, his eyes filled with venom. Su Qingyu, I will never let this go, suit yourself. I said indifferently, I'll be waiting. With that, I turned and led my team out of the bidding meeting. As I stepped outside, the sunlight fell warmly upon me. I took out my phone and glanced at the stock market. Shenlan Energy's stock price had already plummeted by 28%, and it was still falling. I let out a cold laugh and put my phone back in my pocket. Li Changze, this is only the first climax. There are many more surprises waiting for you. After the tender meeting, Hanhai Engineering rose to fame overnight. Not only did we secure a massive 5 billion yuan order from CNOOC, but we also attracted cooperation intentions from many other enterprises. The company's development entered a fast track. Meanwhile, Deep Blue Energy fell into an unprecedented crisis. 5 partners collectively terminated their contracts, costing Deep Blue over 1 billion yuan in lost orders. The banks also caught wind of the situation and demanded early repayment of a 500 million yuan loan. If Deep Blue failed to repay on time, the banks would auction off all of its drilling platforms. With no way out, Li Changze became desperate and reckless. He bribed many self-media outlets to spread rumors about me online. He claimed that I had cheated during my marriage and had an improper relationship with Jiang Yuchuan, which was why Jiang helped me secure the CSIC order. He accused me of stealing Deep Blue Energy's core technology, being ungrateful, and betraying the company. He also said that I had aborted my own child for the sake of my career, painting me as a cold-blooded woman. In no time I became the target of online abuse across the internet. Su Qingyu is so disgusting, cheating during marriage and then turning the blame on others. Exactly, CEO Li treated her so well. Yet she betrayed the company, aborting a child for her career. What a terrifying woman. Boycott Hanhai Engineering, boycott Su Qingyu's products. Every day some incited netizens came to my company's entrance to cause trouble. They held up signs, chanted slogans, and told me to get out of the offshore engineering industry. Some even splashed paint and threw eggs at the company gate. The employees were furious and wanted to argue with them, but I stopped them. Don't bother with them, I said. The innocent are above suspicion. Soon enough they will know the truth. Actually, I had long anticipated that Li Changze would pull something like this, so I had prepared the evidence to counterattack in advance. I exported the chat logs between Li Changze and myself, as well as the divorce agreement from my phone. The chat logs clearly recorded how Li Changze proposed divorce on the very day I became pregnant, how he asked me to terminate the pregnancy, and how he stole my project. I also found the hospital's abortion operation record, as well as intimate photos of Chu Yutong and Li Changze. Wang Peng secretly gave me these photos, which he had discovered on Li Changze's phone. Once everything was ready, I held a press conference. On the day of the press conference, many media reporters showed up. Many incited netizens also came to the scene ready to cause trouble. I walked onto the stage dressed in a black professional suit. Immediately boos rang out from the audience. Su Qingyu, you liar. Get out of the marine engineering industry. Apologized to Mr. Li. Ignoring their boos, I said calmly, dear friends from the media, dear netizens, hello. Today, I am holding this press conference to clarify the rumors about me circulating online. At the same time, I also want to reveal Mr. Li Changze's true colors. After saying this, I signaled the staff to play the PPT. The first things shown on the PPT were my pregnancy report and the divorce agreement. These clearly showed that I was confirmed pregnant on March 15, 2024, and that Li Changze proposed divorce on the very same day. The online claims that I had an affair during marriage are completely false. I said, it was Li Changze who, on the day I became pregnant, proposed divorce to me for the sake of his first love, Chu Yutong. He even asked me to abort the child and leave with nothing. Then I played the chat logs between Li Changze and myself. In the chat logs, Li Changze said, get an abortion, we're getting divorced, Chu Yutong is back and I can't let her suffer. Don't be so shameless. If it weren't for the fact that you're still somewhat useful, I would have divorced you long ago. Sign the papers quickly, don't mess things up for Yutong and me. After the chat logs finished playing, the entire hall fell into dead silence. The netizens who had been booing me just moments ago fell silent. Then I showed the hospital's abortion surgery form. The online rumor that I had an abortion for my career is also false. I said, it was Li Changze's divorce agreement and Chu Yutong's provocation that caused my emotional distress and threatened miscarriage. The doctor said the baby could not be saved, and I had to undergo an abortion. After that, I showed intimate photos of Chu Yutong and Lee Changze. The timestamps of these photos all fell within the period when Lee Changze and I were still married. Lee Changze and Chu Yutong have been together for 3 years. I said, he married me only to exploit my skills once my technology was no longer useful to him. He abandoned me without hesitation. Finally, I presented my patent certificates and labor contract, proving that all core technologies were my own and that there was no theft of company secrets. The labor contract I signed with Lee Changze clearly stipulates that my personal research results belong to me alone. I said, Lee Changze used my patented technology without my permission, which constitutes infringement. I have already filed a lawsuit against him, demanding compensation for my financial losses. After speaking, I took out the court's acceptance notice and showed it to everyone. The audience erupted. Oh my God, so this is the truth. Lee Changze is such a scumbag, asking for a divorce while his wife was pregnant. Chu Yutong is a homewrecker, so disgusting. We misjudged President Su, we're sorry. President Su. The manipulated netizens hung their heads in shame. Just then my phone rang. It was Wang Peng. I answered and put it on speaker. President Su, bad news. Wang Peng's voice was urgent. Chu Yutong has taken 3 million yuan in cash from Lee Changze's personal account and flown abroad. She also sent me evidence of Lee Changze embezzling company funds and told me to give it to you. The crowd erupted again. It turned out that after being abandoned by Lee Changze, Chu Yutong held a grudge, took his money and betrayed him. I hung up, looked into the camera and said word by word, Lee Changze not only cheated during our marriage and stole others' technology but also embezzled company funds. I have complete evidence that he embezzled 230 million yuan. Next, I will report him to the disciplinary inspection authorities and the tax bureau. I believe the law will deliver a fair judgment. After the press conference ended, public opinion shifted instantly. Netizens all began condemning Lee Changze and Chu Yutong, supporting me. Lee Changze is inhuman, he must be severely punished. Support President Su, hold him legally accountable. Go Hanhai Engineering, go President Su. Lee Changze's reputation was completely ruined. No one wanted to work with him or help him anymore. He was utterly alone. As I read the online comments, I felt no emotion. He deserved it all. Next was the wait for the law's verdict. The day after the press conference, Wang Peng came to me. He held a USB drive and a thick stack of documents. President Su, this is the complete evidence of Lee Changze's embezzlement that Chu Yutong sent me. Wang Peng said, placing the USB drive and files on the table. It includes 3 years of bank statements showing misappropriated project funds, fake contracts, reimbursement vouchers, and transfer records of the money he used to buy a house and a car for Chu Yutong. The total embezzled amount is 230 million yuan. I picked up the USB drive and handed it to the lawyer beside me. Go check it. The lawyer took the drive and went to a nearby computer to examine it. After a moment, he returned and nodded at me. President Su, it's real, the evidence is very complete. I breathed a sigh of relief. With this evidence, Lee Changze has no way out. Thank you, Wang Peng, I said. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have obtained this evidence so smoothly. Don't thank me, President Su, Wang Peng said. Lee Changze brought this upon himself. I worked for him for 5 years and watched him rise step by step. He's too selfish. He only cares about himself. When he married you, it was for your technology. He had planned it all along. As soon as the Blue Whale 1 project was completed, he would push you out. I know, I said. Actually, I had a feeling all along, but I just didn't want to believe it. President Su, there's one more thing I have to tell you. Wang Peng hesitated, then said, in fact, the startup capital for the Blue Whale 1 project came from the inheritance your parents left you. My head shot up and I looked at him in disbelief. What did you say? 3 years ago, Shenlan Energy faced a financial crisis and was on the verge of bankruptcy, Wang Peng said. Lee Changze knew that after your parents passed away, they left you an inheritance of 50 million. He tricked you into saying the company needed a cash flow, asking you to take out your inheritance to invest. You trusted him and put all 50 million into the company. It was with that money that he was able to launch the Blue Whale 1 project. Not only that, but he secretly revised the equity agreement, diluting your shares from 40% down to 20%. My heart sank. My parents died in a car accident the year I graduated from college, leaving me an inheritance of 50 million. That money represented my parents' entire life's work. 3 years ago, Lee Changza told me the company was in trouble and needed funds. Without a second thought, I took out my entire inheritance and poured it into the company. I believed that since we were husband and wife, his company was also my company. I never expected he was lying to me. Not only did he swindle away my parents' legacy, but he also diluted my shares. Why would he do this? I asked, my voice trembling. Because he never loved you, Wang Peng said. He married you only for your technical skills and your money. The one he has always loved is Chu Yutong. He said that once he succeeded, he would take Chu Yutong abroad to live a good life. I clenched my fists tightly, my fingernails digging deep into my palms. So the 3 years of this marriage was nothing but a lie from start to finish. He not only deceived my feelings and exploited my expertise but also stole my parents' legacy. Lee Changza, you are truly ruthless. I'm so sorry, President Su, Wang Peng said guiltily. I knew about all of this a long time ago, but I never dared to tell you. I was afraid Lee Changza would retaliate against me. I don't blame you. I took a deep breath and tried to calm my emotions. Thank you for telling me this. Now I finally know the whole truth. Mr. Su, what are you going to do? Wang Peng asked. What am I going to do? I gave a cold laugh. Of course, make him pay the price he deserves. He swindled my parents' inheritance. I'll make him pay back double. He embezzled public funds. I'll make sure he rots in prison. I picked up my phone and called the Disciplinary Inspection Department, submitting the evidence of Lee Changza's embezzlement. Then, I had my lawyer file a lawsuit with the court, demanding that Lee Changza return the 50 million yuan inheritance from my parents and compensate me for emotional distress. After doing all this, I felt much lighter inside. The weight that had been pressing on my heart for 3 years was finally lifted. Lee Changza, your end has come. After the disciplinary department received my report, they immediately launched an investigation. They quickly verified the facts of Lee Changza's embezzlement and froze all his bank accounts and assets. The stock price of Deep Blue Energy plummeted again, falling to just a few cents per share. Panic spread among the company's employees and many resigned. Banks also applied to the court for enforcement, preparing to auction off all of Deep Blue's drilling platforms. Under these circumstances, Deep Blue's directors banded together to convene an interim board meeting to elect a new president. As the company's third largest shareholder, I also attended this board meeting. On the day of the meeting, the atmosphere in the conference room was heavy. All the directors looked gloomy. When they saw me come in, they stood up one after another to greet me. Mr. Su, you're here. Mr. Su, thanks to you this time, otherwise we would never have known what kind of person Lee Changza really is. Mr. Su, you have to come up with a solution to save Deep Blue. I smiled and shook hands with each of them. Not long after, Lee Changza also arrived. He looked much haggard, with significantly more grey hair, and his eyes had lost their former luster. He wore a wrinkled suit, no longer bearing any trace of his once vigorous and confident demeanor. When he saw me, his eyes instantly turned red. He pointed at me and roared, Su Qingyu, it was you. You reported me. I will not let you get away with this. 2 security guards immediately walked over and blocked him. Mr. Lee, please calm down. The guard said, let go of me. Lee Changza struggled and said, I am the president of the company. On what grounds are you stopping me? You are no longer the president, said an old director. We convened this board meeting today to remove you from your position as president. How dare you? Lee Changza roared. I am the founder of this company and hold 35% of its shares. You cannot remove me. Lee Changza, you are suspected of embezzling public funds and the Disciplinary Inspection Department has filed a case to investigate you, said the old director. According to corporate law, you are no longer fit to serve as the company's president. Now let's proceed to a vote. Those in favor of removing Lee Changza from the presidency, please raise your hands. All the directors raised their hands, unanimously passed. I announce that from today Lee Changza is removed from his position as president of Shenlan Energy Group, said the old director. Lee Changza looked at the hands raised across the room and completely broke down. You can't do this to me, he cried hoarsely. Shenlan was founded by me. Without me there is no Shenlan, you ungrateful wretches. No one paid him any attention. The elderly director continued. Next, we will elect the new president. I nominate Su Qingyu as the new president. Su is a co-founder of Deep Blue and the inventor of the Blue Whale 1 project. Only Su can lead Deep Blue out of its predicament. I agree as well. With Su as president, we can all rest assured, the directors unanimously approved my nomination. I looked at Lee Chungza and said calmly, Lee Chungza, you heard them. This is the decision of the entire board. From today onward, you are no longer the president of Deep Blue. Su Qingyu. Lee Chungza glared at me malevolently. I won't let you succeed. Even if I have to destroy Deep Blue, I won't let you have it. You no longer have that chance, I said. The disciplinary authorities have already frozen all your shares. Soon the court will auction off your shares to compensate for the company's losses. Just then, several uniformed disciplinary inspectors walked in. Lee Chungza, we are from the Municipal Commission for Discipline Inspection. The lead inspector produced a notice of investigation. You are suspected of embezzling public funds and occupational misappropriation. You are now being investigated according to the law. Please come with us. Lee Chungza's face turned as pale as paper. He looked at me, his eyes filled with despair and venom. The disciplinary inspectors handcuffed him and led him away. Watching his retreating figure, I felt not a single ripple in my heart. He brought it all upon himself. The elderly director walked over to me and said, Mr. Su, Deep Blue is now in your hands. We believe that you will lead Deep Blue out of its difficulties. I looked at the directors present and said seriously, Dear directors, I will not take over as president of Deep Blue. Everyone was stunned. Mr. Su, what did you say? The elderly director asked in disbelief. I said I will not take over as president of Deep Blue, I replied. I already have my own company and do not have the energy to manage Deep Blue as well. However, I can offer you a suggestion. Hanhai Engineering can acquire Deep Blue Energy. After the acquisition, Deep Blue will become a subsidiary of Hanhai. I will send a professional team to manage Deep Blue and continue the unfinished projects. This way we can preserve Deep Blue as well as everyone's investments. The directors looked at each other, all showing delighted expressions. They had initially thought their investments were completely lost. Never did they expect that I would be willing to acquire Deep Blue. I agree, me too. Wonderful, thank you Mr. Su. The directors unanimously approved my proposal. In the end, we reached an agreement. Hanhai Engineering acquired all shares of Shunlan Energy for the price of 1 yuan. At the same time, Hanhai Engineering assumed all of Shunlan's debts. Although taking on the debt seemed like a disadvantage, in reality Shunlan still had many quality assets such as drilling platforms, port terminals, and many skilled technical workers. With proper management, it would soon become profitable. Moreover, after acquiring Shunlan, Hanhai Engineering would become the largest offshore engineering company in the country, with a complete industrial chain. After the board meeting ended, I signed the acquisition agreement together with the directors. As I walked out of the Shunlan Energy building, the sunlight fell upon me. I turned back to take one last look at this building. 3 years ago my nightmare began here. 3 years later, I have returned. Only this time I am the owner. Lee Chungza. Everything you schemed so hard to take away has ultimately returned to my hands. As for you, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. That is your retribution. After acquiring Shunlan Energy, I began integrating the resources of both companies. I merged the technical departments of Shunlan and Hanhai to form a new R&D center. I also retained Shunlan's drilling fleet and operations team to continue running existing oil and gas projects. Everything proceeded in an orderly manner. Hanhai Engineering continued to grow stronger, becoming the undisputed leader in the domestic offshore engineering industry. I also became one of the youngest female entrepreneurs in the country, appearing on the covers of many financial magazines. Jiang Yuchuan has been by my side all along, giving me support and help. With him accompanying me, I have slowly walked out of the shadows of the past, becoming more cheerful and more confident. That day, I was processing documents in my office when the front desk called to say that a Mr. Lee was looking for me. I paused for a moment. Mr. Lee, could it be Lee Chungza? No. Lee Chungza had already been taken away by the disciplinary inspection department and was under investigation. What's his name? I asked. He says his name is Lee Chungza. The front desk replied. I frowned. How could he be out? Let him in, I said. Before long, Lee Chungza walked into my office. He looked even more haggard, his hair completely white, his back hunched. He wore a faded shirt, his eyes clouded. It turned out that due to health reasons, he had been released on bail pending trial. Upon seeing me, he rushed over immediately, trying to grab my hand. I stepped back and avoided him. Qingyu, I know I was wrong. Lee Chungza knelt before me, crying. I truly know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you, betrayed you, or embezzled public funds. Please forgive me. Okay, let's start over. I looked at Lee Changza kneeling on the ground, feeling not a single ripple in my heart. Lee Changza, get up, I said. What's between us ended long ago. No, it hasn't ended. Lee Changza shook his head and said, we are husband and wife, we even had a child together. Qingyu, I know you still love me. You're just angry at me, right? I will treat you well from now on and I will never betray you again. A child, I sneered. How dare you even mention the child? I walked to my desk, opened the drawer, took out the miscarriage surgery consent form from back then and threw it in front of him. Take a look at this, I said. This is my miscarriage surgery consent form. The doctor said the threatened miscarriage was caused by emotional distress, and the baby couldn't be saved. Do you know why I was so emotional? Because on the very day I got pregnant you handed me divorce papers, said Chu Yutong was back and told me to abort the child. Lee Changza stared at the form, stunned. I didn't know, he murmured. I didn't know you were pregnant. If I had known I would never have treated you like this. You didn't know. I laughed. Lee Changza, have you forgotten? I went to you that day with the pregnancy test report and told you in person that I was pregnant. You said it yourself, you told me to abort the child. How could you not have known? Lee Changza's face turned as pale as paper. He remembered what happened that day and the words he had said. I'm sorry, Qingyu, I'm so sorry. He cried. I didn't mean it, I was blinded by Chu Yutong and said those awful things. I really didn't know this would happen. If I had known the baby would be lost, I would never have said that. What's the use of saying that now? I said. The baby is gone. You killed our child with your own hands. No, that's not true, Lee Changza roared. I did not kill my child. Qingyu, can you give me another chance? Let's have another child. I will be a good husband and a good father. Impossible, I said, enunciating each word. Lee Changza, I will never give you another chance. Even if I never have children in my life, I will have nothing more to do with you. You don't deserve to be my husband and even less to be a father. Qingyu, how can you be so cruel? Lee Changza sobbed. 15 years of our relationship, can you just forget it like that? 15 years of relationship, I sneered. Lee Changza, ask yourself, did you ever show me a shred of sincerity in those 15 years? You married me for my skills and my money. Being with me, you only ever treated me as a tool. Now that the tool is useless, you want to discard me, and now that you're in trouble, you want to come back to me. Don't you think that's ridiculous? I walked up to him, looked into his eyes and said, Lee Changza, let me tell you something. From the moment you handed me those divorce papers, all the feelings between us died, just like the unborn child dead. Lee Changza looked into my cold eyes and finally understood that I would never forgive him. He collapsed to the floor, wailing. I looked at him without a shred of sympathy. He deserved all of this. I pressed the intercom. Security, please come up and escort this gentleman out, and from now on, don't let him into the company again. Soon 2 security guards came in and dragged Lee Changza out. As he struggled, he shouted, Su Qingyu, I won't give up, I will wait for you. Watching his figure being taken away, I sighed. Some people never learn to repent, but I won't be affected by him anymore. I already have a new life, new hope. Let the past stay in the past. 3 months later. The launching ceremony of the Blue Whale 1 deepwater semi-submersible drilling rig took place in the East China Sea. This was the first domestically developed deepwater semi-submersible drilling rig, marking China's achievement of world-leading standards in offshore engineering. On the day of the ceremony, many leaders and guests arrived, including the head of CNOOC, leaders from China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, and numerous industry experts. Dressed in a red work uniform, I stood on the drilling rig to host the ceremony. Jiang Yuchuan stood beside me, smiling as he looked at me. Halfway through the ceremony, someone suddenly shouted, Lee Changza is here. Everyone turned to look at the shore. There was Lee Changza, rushing like a madman, breaking through the security guards' blockade and running toward the drilling rig. As he ran, he yelled, Qingyu, Qingyu, wait for me. The guards immediately gave chase, trying to stop him, but he ran too fast and actually managed to reach the drilling rig. Qingyu, Lee Changza rushed up to me and dropped to his knees with a thud. Qingyu, I beg you, forgive me. I truly know I was wrong. I'll do anything you ask as long as you can forgive me. The scene erupted in uproar. All the guests and media were stunned, raising their cameras to take photos. I looked at Lee Changza kneeling on the ground, my expression calm. Lee Changza, I've told you many times there is no possibility between us anymore. I said, please leave and do not disrupt our launching ceremony. I won't leave. Lee Changza grabbed my legs. Unless you forgive me, I'll stay kneeling here forever. Suit yourself. I said indifferently. Then I turned around and said to all the guests and media, "Sorry for making a fool of myself, let's continue with the launching ceremony." Just then, Lee Changza suddenly pulled out a knife from his jacket and held it to his own throat. "Su Qingyu," he roared, "if you don't forgive me, I'll die right in front of you." The scene erupted in screams. Jiang Yuchuan immediately stepped in front of me, watching Lee Changza warily. Security guards also gathered around, ready to act at any moment. I pushed Jiang Yuchuan aside, looked at Lee Changza and said clearly, word by word, "Lee Changza, if you want to die, go ahead, it has nothing to do with me." Lee Changza was stunned. He hadn't expected me to be so ruthless. Are you really that heartless?" he said in disbelief. "You forced me," I said. "You personally destroyed everything between us, now you're trying to use death to manipulate me. Don't you think that's pathetic?" I took out my phone and pressed play. The recording of the chat between Lee Changza and Wang Peng began to play. "Once the Blue Whale No. 1 project succeeds, I'll divorce Su Qingyu and marry Yutong. That woman Su Qingyu is just a tool. Without her I can still succeed. Her money and technology are mine. Once I get them, I'll kick her out." When the recording ended, the entire venue fell into dead silence. Everyone looked at Lee Changza with contempt. His face turned as pale as paper. The knife in his hand clattered to the ground. "Do you hear that, Lee Changza?" I said. "That's what you really think. You never loved me. You only love yourself. Now that you're in trouble, you come back to me. Don't you think that's shameless?" Just then, several disciplinary inspectors and police officers walked over. "Lee Changza, we're from the Municipal Commission for Discipline Inspection and the Public Security Bureau," said the lead officer. "During your release pending trial, you violated regulations by leaving the designated area without permission and disturbing public order. You are now being lawfully arrested. Additionally, your embezzlement case has been fully investigated, and the court will hear the case next week." The police handcuffed Lee Changza and led him away. He didn't resist, just stared blankly at me with despair in his eyes. Watching his retreating figure, I felt nothing. It was all over. I turned around, picked up the microphone and announced loudly, "Now I declare that the Blue Whale No. 1 deepwater semi-submersible drilling rig is officially launched." As my voice faded, a cannon salute boomed. The Blue Whale No. 1 slowly sailed into the sea, gleaming under the sunlight. Warm applause and cheers erupted on sight. Jiang Yuchuan walked up to me, took a ring box from his pocket and knelt on one knee. "Qingyu," he said, looking into my eyes earnestly, 3 years ago I watched you marry someone else and my heart ached, but I still wished you happiness now. You've finally moved past the shadows of the past. I hope I can have the chance to take care of you for the rest of your life. Will you marry me?" Looking into Jiang Yuchuan's sincere eyes, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Over these 3 years, I had endured so much pain and betrayal. I thought I would never believe in love again, but Jiang Yuchuan's presence was like a ray of light illuminating my dark world. He respects me, trusts me, and supports me. When I was at my lowest, he stayed by my side. He is someone worthy of my life. I nodded and said, choked with emotion, "I do." Trembling with joy, Jiang Yuchuan slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood up and held me tightly. Warm applause rang out once more. All the guests and media offered us their blessings. Leaning into Jiang Yuchuan's embrace, I looked out at the boundless sea and smiled with happiness. I knew then, my happiness had finally arrived. 1 year later, Hanhai Engineering had become the largest offshore engineering technology company in Asia, with operations spanning over 30 countries and regions worldwide. The new generation drilling platforms we developed had been exported to countries such as Norway, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia, becoming a signature of Made in China. Jiang Yuchuan and I also held a grand wedding. On the wedding day, many guests arrived, including my family, friends, employees, and numerous industry professionals. Wang Peng was my best man. He had now become the operations director of Hanhai Engineering and was doing an excellent job. Academician Zhong Jingyao was the officiant of our wedding. He looked at me, smiled and said, "Qingyu, seeing you so happy now, your teacher is truly delighted for you." I looked at him and smiled back. "Thank you, teacher. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today." At the wedding, Jiang Yuchuan held my hand and said to all the guests, "I will love Qingyu with all my life, protect her, and never let her be hurt again." Looking into Jiang Yuchuan's gentle eyes, my heart was filled with happiness. After marriage, our life together was sweet. Jiang Yuchuan doted on me, treating me like a treasure. He supported my career and would give me a warm hug when I was tired. I also established a Marine Environmental Protection Public Welfare Fund, contributing 10% of the company's annual profits to marine environmental protection and marine life rescue. I hope that through my efforts, we can make our oceans even more beautiful. This day marked the opening ceremony of Hanhai Engineering's new headquarters. Located by the seaside, the new building was a 30-story skyscraper. From above, one could see the endless ocean and our drilling platforms working offshore. Many guests attended the opening ceremony dressed in a white suit. I stood on stage and delivered the opening speech. Distinguished leaders, honored guests, hello everyone. Welcome to the opening ceremony of Hanhai Engineering's new headquarters. 1 year ago, Hanhai Engineering was just a small company with over a dozen employees. Today, we have become a leading enterprise in the industry. None of this would have been possible without your support and help, nor without the efforts of every member of our team. Looking at the employees in the audience, their faces were filled with pride. In the future, Hanhai Engineering will continue to work hard, uphold independent innovation, and develop more and better offshore engineering equipment. At the same time, we will take on more social responsibilities to protect our marine environment. Let us work together to contribute to building a strong maritime nation. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. After the ceremony, I saw the guests off. Just then, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Lee Chungza. He had just been released from prison. Due to embezzling a huge amount of funds, he had been sentenced to 15 years. But because of good behavior in prison, his sentence was reduced by 5 years. He wore a shabby coat with graying hair and a face full of wrinkles. He looked much older than his actual age. Standing at the back of the crowd, he watched me from afar. When he saw me looking, he quickly lowered his head and turned to leave. I called out to him, Lee Chungza. He stopped, slowly turned around and looked at me with complex eyes. How are you? I asked. I'm fine, he said, lowering his head. I found a job in prison, working in the prison factory. I can support myself. That's good, I said. Chingyu. He looked up at me. I'm sorry I wronged you in the past. I know it's too late to say anything now, but I still want to apologize. It's all in the past. I said, take care of yourself from now on. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Chingyu, I wish you happiness. You deserve better. With that, he turned and left. Watching his forlorn figure, a mix of emotions welled up inside me. The love, hate and entanglements of the past had all faded away with time. I no longer hated him, nor did I love him anymore. He was just a passerby in my life. Jiang Yuchuan walked over and gently hugged me from behind. What are you thinking about? Nothing. I turned around and leaned into his arms. I was just thinking how lucky I am to have met you. Jiang Yuchuan smiled, kissed my forehead and said, silly, it's my luck to have met you. He held me and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside the window stretched an endless sea. Sunlight sparkled on the water, shimmering like scattered gold. On the distant drilling platform, lights blazed brightly as the workers worked in an orderly manner. Look, Jiang Yuchuan said, pointing at the sea, you created all of this. With your talent, you lit up the starlight of the deep sea. I looked at everything before me and let out a relieved smile. 3 years of marriage, 5 years of secret love and the unborn child, all of it had become the past.